So the pandemic is going just swell.
So Dungeons & Dragons has been a rather favourable hobby of mine since I've been playing and DMing it for the past few years. And one of the main things I see complaints on is when players have games that have very little interest to what they wanted, having too many conflicting styles of play with the DM or with players, or seeing their character have little to no reason to band with the group in the first place, then this campaign sort of... Well, my little lumps of sweet, stupid heads, have you ever heard of Session Zero? Session Zero? What's that? Said the figment of my imagination portraying the audience. Well, Session Zero can be defined as all discussions and group agreements to the context and play of the campaign or adventure in development. So that includes house rulings, adventure hooks, setting knowledge, party playstyle and dynamics, character creation, and other bits and bobs like homebrewing and stuff. Now, Session Zero sounds like a lot of things to do, like maybe an entire D&D session's worth of prepping for a session. Well, here's the beauty of it, boys and toys with girls eating McCoys. You can do this at the group's convenience. You can sort out everything over text, one-to-one with the DM, or if the group is all acquainted with D&D and you're all sitting around one day and one of you goes, "Hey, you want to do a kobold campaign?" Well, there you go. There's already the start of Session Zero. It's essentially making sure everyone knows what the adventure is all about and coming to mutual agreement on what they want to play, because D&D is for everyone! Well, that means D&D is for everyone. Because Dungeons & Dragons... What? Fucking... One sec. Because Dungeons & Dragons... Dungeons. Because Dungeons & Dragons can play into almost any sort of story if you try hard enough, people will be interested in playing certain things. Do you like characters and story? You prefer role-playing with other players and NPCs that are frequent in the campaign. Do you like tabletop combat games like Warhammer? Then you'd want to see the builds and encounter scenarios you could play or become the best at a combat role. Do you like learning the lore outside of the game and want to get more expanse on stuff not written in the official books? Then you probably prefer exploring notable locations or building characters proficient in discovering all this knowledge. Or you just want to fuck around as a meme character and play the imaginary people. You're small! No! Now that I think I've roughly gone through the essential rundown of what Session Zero is all about, I think it's time I give some debrief of what I personally encourage people to think on during this session and some Session Zero tips. It's hard enough already to get a unanimous agreement on what everyone wants out of the campaign and who they'll be playing, but what makes things more difficult is players that are often new not knowing how a typical D&D game works. This is because of them having either the lack of confidence or knowledge on what they really want out of it. So here's some general guidance to get some insight on what they might like. What makes your character join an adventuring group? Asking this with the group allows them to get them thinking of reasons their character will be interacting and cooperating with the rest of the player characters. After all, D&D is a team-based cooperative RPG, and it should be emphasized that the game is better when all characters can get along in some shape or form. If I introduced NPCs connected with your character, what would you like to see the most out of them? This allows the bonds they either rolled on the character creation chapter or ones they thought of themselves coming to fruition during the game, bringing in the immersion and their engagement with the setting and story. It can bring an insight to how they really want to play with their character when it comes to roleplay and gives you, the DM, some hints on what you could do with their character in return. What kind of danger do you want to encounter? Danger doesn't necessarily have to come from strictly combat. These could be environmental like traps or traversing dangerous terrain, taking risks in order to proceed. There's also social dangers of disguise and infiltration, trying to eavesdrop and such. Seeing what your players would like to do as a group like bounty hunting, espionage or typical dungeon running can help make these scenarios way more engaging for them. When playing other RPG games, what kept you hooked in the most? This is a broad one, but this could lead into what piques your players' interest and what they will want to see out of the game. If you see common ground to what they like, such as wanting to stealth a lot or use diplomacy to solve problems, you can then follow up with more questions on how you can bring that aesthetic into D&D. But to reaffirm, this is a team game, not Skyrim. No player should feel like or try to be the protagonist above all others. When selling your premise for the campaign, keep what you give them simple and easy to understand at face value. Including complex context such as paragraphs of lore or massive amounts of political backgrounds within the setting can sometimes stare off players' interest. It'll feel like a hassle to fully read through all this pre-information before they even start to make their character. The one thing you want to do as a DM is to give the players the promise of fun from the start, using buzzwords to hook them in and then leave them wanting to know more or experience it during the game. You don't have to tell them events that'll happen, but lead some mystery into what you might do, like, my game includes pocket dimensions, or expect to see a lot of beholders being involved and you'll learn more about them. I've had too many games have this sort of impression that the players are working to win against the DM. This is absolutely not the case. Players should not be antagonizing the DM for what unfortunate circumstances that play out, and the DM in return should not threaten or imply that they're happy to punish harshly or kill their characters when they want to. The best way to say this is, D&D is not the players working against the DM, it's the players and the DM working against the trials ahead of them within the game. Remember, the DM wants you to have fun and succeed. And that's the video. This has been sat in development for like, I don't know, 1 whole year. Life got to be pretty hard after the last upload. Now with myself being more intact, I want to get into regularly uploading videos to this channel. I'm obsessed about D&D, so I've got things I want to do for videos, and I still want to do game reviews too. So if you came back after all this time, thank you for staying with me. Also, I made head sprites. I love these. I want to make more. So to close off, I will be seeing you guys real soon. See ya.